In terms of garnering attention, the new River Racers should be an easy slam dunk for the park. It's a new water coaster. It's visual. It's peak family season, and it's at the water park. This is how it should all play out. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are, and that's who we care about.
Let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members. Thank you so much, Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac, 21, Brian Hauser, 330T, Logan Lipper, Aaron Bort, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, Stephen Horneck, Eric Grau, Ian Crawford, Dustin Jackson, Songstress Miku, Dakota Cole, and Lack Ray. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and hey, some tiers even get some free stuff. So smash that link in the description. So Don, huge opportunity coming up very, very soon for the park.
There is, with the opening of RiverRacers, I think it's something that could garner not just local, but you could also make a lot of noise with national news coverage if you play it right. Now, it's Memorial Day weekend. Oftentimes there's that excuse, hey, we couldn't get any media to come out because it's a holiday weekend. That's just an excuse. If you do it right, it's news. You'll get people excited. You'll get people interested. But it really comes down to, how you pitch it. You just can't say that it's open and expect to get, coverage outside, your backyard with it. So you got to have some kind of a hook in place for what you want to do. Who's going to be your first riders or sliders, on this. You can look at the sports teams and, try to get somebody like that, council members or something. But that's not really going to get it done in terms of, making sure that everybody in, Cincinnati and Dayton has to come out with their cameras on May 24th, and capture those first riders on this. One of the things that would do that, is your hook. You would want to focus on like the local heroes, for the first rides. You're talking firefighters, military, maybe even teachers, just something like that. But I think the firefighters, you got military free that weekend. So what a perfect tie-in. That now it's a way to also say, hey, we got military free, and we're part of this, we're going to have Sergeant, whatever the name is, as one of the first sliders on this. It creates that goodwill. That would be a strong, local news appeal, and you'd get everybody out if you did it that way. If you use the local heroes angle for those first riders on this.
Yeah, my initial thought when you were saying this was police versus fire, but you're right. This is Memorial Day weekend. So what about Army versus Navy? I think that would be a great way to battle it out.
Anything like that. You got your local heroes. Exactly. So yeah, Army versus Navy, why not? I think this would be, the perfect way to go. It's a great story. Media would definitely bite on this, and they would be out there to capture those, that first ride on this. So I think that would be a no-brainer to do it that way. Other than trying to scramble and, you find the Reds are playing, they're not going to come out, and do anything like that. No. Hard to get a Bengal player to come out at that time, So the best way to go is something that's going to, capture the media's attention, something they're going to have interest in covering. And I think if you use those local heroes, use that approach, you'd get it done.
But how would you get this like outside of like the 513 area code? And if you're holding your notebook right now, write this down. So let's talk about getting a broader appeal.
The notebook that you keep the receipts on people in, right? So I think if you're trying to get it outside the backyard, and you should be, with this, you got your national pitch. So to give RiverRacers national appeal for PR, number of things you can do, but you want to have a hook that emphasizes the uniqueness of this attraction, the competitive edge, and that broad audience draw that it should have. Something that media outlets outside of Cincinnati and Dayton, markets, they would find newsworthy, buzzworthy, and you find a way to kind of localize it for those markets. So you do get it in a place like Chicago, you do get it in Knoxville, you do get it in Detroit, you get it in Pittsburgh. You want to get it as far as you can. You want to, number one, top of mind, but you're getting people excited about this. Make it sound like this is something we got to see. This is something we got to do. And oh, by the way, we've got a whole theme park that's part of getting into Soak City. So I think you do something like that. You got to have a hook idea, with the national reach. And I think what you'd want to do, and you want to get everybody to open up that email. We're talking about the producers, the assignment managers, everybody in these newsrooms. You want them to open it. So your subject line, again, write this down if you've got your little notebook open, is the country's most epic water coaster battle is now open.
I like that.
By putting the word countries in there, by putting countries in there, now you've localized it because it's across the country. So if this is a news outlet that is in, say, Huntington, West Virginia, or it's in Detroit, Michigan, you've localized it for the country. That's us. We're all part of the country. So everybody's going to be interested. They're going to open this email. Now, the second thing that you want to do is you got to have what you're going to say. And this is a media alert. It's not a press release. So you don't want to do attachments. You don't want to put it in this big showcase thing and have 1,000 pictures or anything. You just want to make it simple. Paste it in to an email with your logo on there, so they know it's coming from the park. But just paste it in the email, and your hook is you just say 2 tracks, 1 champion. Kings Island debuts one of the fastest, most exhilarating, and most competitive water coasters in the U.S. And it's only at Soak City Water Park in Mason, Ohio. Then you have your next paragraph. You make bold, superlative claims. You talk about the height. You talk about the speed. You talk about the racing element. It's the first and only dual racing water coaster in Ohio. You stick to just that. You accompany, both one photo, and a 30-second off-ride video and a POV video. And you send it to those news outlets throughout Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. All these places, anything that's within a 6-hour drive of Kings Island. So the Fort Wayne newsrooms, they should get this. So you send that to them. You also want to send that alert to the nationals, the USA Today, the CNNs, those national morning shows, travel writers for the New York Times, Los Angeles Times. Make sure that you got Brady McDonald, big theme park writer. He's with the Orange County Register. And all these outlets that I've talked about, if you've been there 6, 7, 8 years, this should not be the first time those newsrooms and these markets are hearing from you. They should know who you are. You should have already engaged with them at different times about stuff. So it shouldn't be like, who's this person sending us this, or where's Kings Island? They should know. You should already have established some kind of a relationship so they think it's important when they get it from you. So you don't want to overthink it. Very important. Don't overthink it. Don't send it as a showcase, like I mentioned. Just make it that simple alert. No more than what I just said, in terms of the words. That's all you need. The superlatives with that first thing. You just copy it, paste it in, and you put a link to those photos and the videos, and nothing more than that is really needed. And it's the subject line. Like I mentioned, that's going to get the news desk, the assignment managers, the producers. They're going to open that email because it sounds intriguing. So the information email, tells them, hey, this is a story. We should do this. And you've put it there on a silver platter for them. You've given them the stats.
Yeah.
You've given them the video. You've given them the photo.
You write it for them.
And they're looking on Memorial Day weekend. They're looking for filler information. This is a great time to get earned media placements around the country. For sure in the region, but around the country too. I mean, this is a great time to do that. So they're looking for those stories. So you just stick to that story. Don't jumble it up with the marketing messages. Don't add anything else in there. Like, hey, we got season passes on sale. We're now open daily. Here's our operating hours. We got this coming up. Nothing else but what I just talked about. And I mentioned, that subject line. The country's most epic water coaster battle is now open. You need nothing more than that. If that is your subject line, you are going to have close to 100% open rate by these news media outlets, because they're going to say, what is this? It sounds interesting. And then, you got that hook, what I talked about, 2 tracks, 1 champion, and you kind of go from there. And, again, you've laid it out for them. You've made it perfect. They have everything they need. They've got a 30-second video. They've got a POV of it. It looks fun and thrilling. This is something that, it's now the travel season. Families are taking vacations. You mentioned, because it's the countries, people are coming from all over to go to Kings Island. It's just the perfect storm. It's perfect for everybody to, to want to pick this up and want to do that. And, if you stick to what I just outlined, and if you do it right, the media, they're going to chase after you, and they're going to want to do follow-ups even on this. So, it's all there for you now. It's on a silver platter. All you got to do is do it. It's not that hard. And that's a way to, to have a great launch for RiverRacers. If you do that, you localize it with, with it being the country with that subject line, but also, for the local news, you want to do something as it opens, with those first riders, with the, with the heroes, the military, Army versus Navy. I love that, Ryan. I think that would be the perfect thing to do. And you do have military free that weekend, so you have people already there coming to the park. So everything, the stars align to get off to a great start if you were to do something like that.
Do you feel like you just ran a symposium? That's what came into my head. That I feel like I just had a big bunch of knowledge dropped on me. I appreciate that. Now, one thing that you always kind of preached, well, Mefford too. He always kind of had this message as well, is that the Memorial Day, Labor Day, weekends like that, it's easy to think that, like, well, they're short staffed, so it'd be hard to get people out there. But you mentioned that they need the fill-in.
Well, that's the excuse you would want to give your bosses if you didn't get the coverage. You'd want
Yeah.
to say, well, it was hard to get media to come out. Or like Winterfest. Well, it's the night before Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. Hard to get media to come out. It's not hard to get media to come out. They're still there. They have newscasts to do. They're looking for stories, and they're looking for
Mhm.
something different at different times of the year than just, for like Fourth of July. Looking for more than just fireworks. For the Memorial Day, they're looking for some different, not just the people having cookouts. They're looking for those other stories, and you would give them a great story. If you tie it in with the local heroes for the local media, and for those other outlets, they get that on a Saturday morning with the, those videos, the photo. You just send that copy to them. How I outlined it. Don't put anything else in there and jumble it up. Don't make it too hard. Just send them that, and you're going to have, great success. Hopefully, they know who you are. They've heard from you before. It's not the first time that you're sending something to those outlets in Chicago and Detroit and Pittsburgh and, uh, you know, in Knoxville, Fort Wayne, Huntington. That you've already have some kind of a relationship with those. And if you have that, going for you, this is easy. And it's gonna be PR gold Memorial Day weekend with the opening of RiverRacers.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking back, like when you were running the show with Tidal Wave Bay, Tropical Plunge. They all opened the same weekend, and you had a pretty wide spread. So
Yeah, you kind of went everywhere, and you just again, you make it something that you have to localize it for outside the backyard, and by saying this is the one of the country's largest wave pools, or you talk about the experience with Tropical Plunge, that it's got all it's got the slide, it's got the drop, there's different elements of it. You just make it interesting, make it newsworthy, and those placements came for us, and I had spent a number of years and doing PR even before I went there, and I just didn't limit myself to the Cincinnati Dayton media. I made sure that I had relationships with some of the people I mentioned. Brady McDonald, Orange County Register. He was with the Los Angeles Times, back then. But just making sure that it's not the first time that they're hearing from you too also helps.
yeah. All right. Well, they should send you a thank you note when it's done, Don. When it
Do you now, Ryan? I mean, do you like my ideas that I
No,
have for
I
what they could
really
do?
like it. I think that the most exciting thing is, if they did Army versus Navy or something like that, they could tie that into Memorial Day. I think
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
kind of writes itself. I think that even if the ride opened last year, that still would have made national news. Um, and the fact that the ride's new and they're the first riders really just kind of
Yeah.
pushes it way over the edge. But yeah,
Yeah, but less than 2 weeks away from this opening, that they're trying to find some kind of a hook, or what can we do to get more than just Spectrum News One to come out and cover this. on a busy holiday weekend. Well, we just laid it out for you what you can do. If you do want to get great coverage locally and you want to get it outside, your backyard and get all these different places within 6 hours of Kings Island, doing online stories about it, putting it into the newscast, and you'll get off to a great start.
How about this idea? Tower Topics versus KI Central for the first boats to go out. And whoever wins is the biggest Kings Island fans. Or at least the fans.
Well, I'm still going to say, yeah, I mean, that would be fun to do. I think, we got a lot of great people over there on KI Central. They do a good job of sharing their passion, for the park with the things that they post about.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, I always learn a lot from you, Don, and I'm sure that there were some notes taken and stuff. So, Kings Island, if you're listening, I hope you have a really successful launch with RiverRacers.
We do.
It's going to be
I really do.
Yeah, I think they'll do a really good job with it. But let's move on to some Tower Topics tidbits for your information. All right. So here's one that we have discussed this so long, and this is a really happy story. So it's early, but the Past Perks program seems like it's kind of coming to fruition. There's better communication. It's more outlined as far as what you need to do to earn stuff. Now, I mean, you and I have had a million ideas. You can talk to anybody that's a hardcore park fan, and they'll have a million ideas as to what kind of prizes or what kind of structure they would like to have for the program. But what they have now might actually move the needle. If you visit.
Yeah, I had not visited. I've not visited yet this year, and I've had several different things through the app, communicating to me if I'd gone in April, what the perks and what I could have achieved. It's outlined for me what I could achieve in May. Last year, I had already visited 6 or 7 times and never got any kind of communication, from Past Perks. It wasn't until like June before I started seeing some things. So it's definitely, they've enhanced the program for sure. And it's a good thing to see.
I think so too. It seemed like people were getting random emails of like, hey, 50% off. And it's like, well, this person was going to visit anyway, and they're probably not going to use the coupon, and they have a meal plan, So it seems like it's a little bit more well thought out. It's not 10% off, but you can't use it with your Gold Pass discount. It's more like an additional 10% off, or people always kind of scoff at like 15% off a food item, but what an opportunity if you go to the brew house and you're eating your pub burger or whatever. And like, I love to get like the big pretzel, or what's the other one that I like to get? Yeah, I can't think of it. There's another appetizer that I often get. Oh, no, it's the nachos. But to get 15% off that, in addition to my 10% off, that's awesome, because I actually pay for those things. So good on Six Flags for this. This is a really cool program, and hopefully it's they're going to reap some benefits from it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's on the right track now.
I think so too. Just like Adventure Express, it's always on the right track. All right. So we covered this last week, but now we know that it is true. And the park PR person said that blue ice cream was for the first time going to be available in Soak City Water Park. That is incorrect. Blue ice cream has previously been available in Soak City. After we brought it up, a lot of other people said, no, it's been pretty recent actually that they've had blue ice cream in Soak City.
We saw pictures of it. We saw people saying, no, there was blue ice cream there. Some did say that they were disappointed it wasn't there last year, but it had been other years. But it does, bring up the fact that you don't want to put something out there and, tout something if it's not the case, unless you know. So that part of it, was a stretch. So if you're going to Soak City this year, you get blue ice cream. It is not the first time that it's been served out.
But it could be the first time for you.
You've had it, yes. First time for you. But it's, or maybe it's the first time in that spot where they're going to be serving it. I don't know. But you got to be careful, when you throw things out there, or else as a spokesperson, you will lose credibility if you keep distributing misinformation.
Yeah, fortunately, this particular incident, not a big deal. You and I also didn't know this offhand. Um,
No, not
but
offhand. But if I was going to be talking to media, I certainly would want to know, when did we have this before out here?
right.
I would do my homework and make sure that I knew what I was talking about.
All right. Third tidbit. This is my favorite thing to say, but daily operations begin this Wednesday. Now,
Yes,
to counter
we're
the
here.
good news, the bad news is the weekly hours are kind of bad. They close at like 7 o'clock. But
Yeah, yeah. So if you're coming after work, you don't have time to go home, get the wife and kids, or vice versa. And, park's closing at 7, so there's not a lot of time there. But the fact that it is open, daily, starting Wednesday, and those early, you know, days during the week, you get an opportunity. Wait times are minimal.
hmm,
So if you're there when the park opens, so from 10 to 7, I mean, you can still get in a lot of rides. You can still use your dining plan twice. So there's still reason to go. You just got to get there early.
yeah, take a vacation day. You've been good. Go to the park on a random Wednesday. There'll be a bunch of kids there, but you'll still have a lot of fun. Okay. Um, let's move on to a segment that we like to call buy or sell. Don, buy or sell. Within 2 to 3 years, Kings Island will rebrand the merchandise store in Coney Mall across from the Racer, Coney Confections, into a gourmet popcorn store with 72 flavors. Buy or sell.
Um, 72 flavors, gourmet popcorn, Coney confections.
Yeah.
Everything about it says this would be a very popular spot in the park, and it'd be something that would be unique to Kings Island. But I'm going to sell. I don't think that that is something that they would see as a great opportunity for them.
Well, they
I like the concept. I think it would work, but I don't think they would.
I love the concept. I really do. And Disney Magic Kingdom has stuff like this, and they've got like seasonal. Like we got the Christmas popcorn, and it had like broken up candy canes on it and peppermints and stuff like that. And then Halloween has Snickers, and and they have them for every season. And then you can custom make them too. I could see them trying something like that, but um, I
I know when I was working there, and we had Kyle Kruthoffer, who's now at King's Dominion or with Six Flags, for that region.
mm,
Um, he and I had kind of you know talked about something like this, and it kind of pitched it to someone there, and they kind of liked the idea of it. They liked the idea that it would be the place we suggested. I don't want to mention it right now, but they thought that um, it was a better idea than having that from outside the park vendor in there. So they were intrigued by it, but they just didn't think that was something that they would be able to convince others that they needed to move on from what was there and do something like this that would be unique to Kings Island. But I do like this idea a lot. I think it would certainly work. It would be something that be like blue ice cream. Guests would be always wanting to get that bag of popcorn on their way out the door.
they'd have blue. They'd certainly have blue ice cream flavored popcorn too. I think that would be signature.
Gourmet flavored blue ice cream
Of course,
popcorn.
I love the idea. I would be a client of theirs if they decided to do that. Let's
I like the idea.
let's move on to some theme park headline news. I've got a picture for this one. So Dollywood has added a new dining experience that blends bold Southern flavors with a peaceful scenic setting called Wilderness Pass. Wilderness Pass restaurant's menu centers around smoked rotisserie, wood-fired meats, along with Southern staples. Entree platters include barbecue braised beef, country sausage, rotisserie half chicken, slow smoked pulled pork, Southern fried catfish. Read all about it on themeparksbydawn.com. That's
I had a chance to experience this. It quickly became one of my favorite spots in the park, if not my favorite spot. I had the country sausage. I mean, it was amazing. It was what you expect, at Dollywood. I mean, the food is, if not the best in the industry. I mean, it's certainly in the argument. And I think the part about just around it, the tables and stuff where they had around it, a lot of shade, just being able to relax, and you've got, you can't beat the setting. So I was really impressed with it, and it's going to be a go-to spot for me when I go to Dollywood.
How was their supply of hush puppies? I've heard that there are places that run out occasionally.
Well, the hush puppies looked, I didn't get them, but they looked really good. And I don't think, Ryan, if you go to Dollywood, and I hope you do this year,
Yeah.
that you're going to have an issue if you go to Wilderness Pass and you want hush puppies. I don't think they're going to say they're out, because disappointing people is not in their DNA.
Yeah. Well, disappointing people and then telling them sucks to be you essentially is not.
They look good, though. I do have a picture of them in my my story that I did on themeparksbydon.com, showing the hush puppies. And I thought of you as I was writing that article. I wanted to make sure I got the hush puppies in there. I felt it was important that there are hush puppy fans out there like you, willing to travel that 5 or 6 hours to get those hush puppies.
First of all, it's only like 4 hours for me because I live in Kentucky. Second of all, I like hush puppies, but I feel like my love for hush puppies is way overblown given the circumstance that I dealt with, that I was victim to when I was denied my hush puppy. But it's no, I'm sure the restaurant looks amazing. Dollywood does have fantastic food, and kudos to them. Sounds really cool.
Yeah, it was a highlight of my trip. There was being able to check out the new restaurant, and being able to gather enough information about it to write a story on it.
Cool. Hey, we'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question. Jessica from Lebanon, Ohio. She said, my family and I have gold passes, yet I continue to receive advertisements encouraging me to purchase a silver pass. This feels like a waste of resources, especially money sending promotional mailers to those who already hold a higher tier pass. Wouldn't those funds be better allocated towards staffing more employees, particularly to help reduce wait times by having more team members available to check restraints and improve overall efficiency? Great question. And
great question, great points. I agree with you that this is a lot of money, that's being spent while they're cutting in other areas. So I don't know why they wouldn't know who has a pass, who doesn't. I mean, that information is all there. I got a mailer the other day, for a silver pass. I got a message. I think it was either last night or this morning, reminding me to get a silver pass, and I would save 20% if I bought it now. So before Memorial Day. So I don't know. I mean, being a gold pass holder, I don't know why they do that. You've got it right there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the information that you and I both received.
This is a live. This is from my phone. Like this is not a screenshot or anything. This is live right now from my phone, where I was pitched a 2025 silver pass for 5 payments of $16. So on the app, that's free money wise, unless they pay a third party to do this, which is also possible.
Yeah, but don't you think though they should know you have a pass? You've used your pass. Why do you want a silver pass?
The thing that's disappointing about it isn't necessarily that they're marketing to me and I have a gold pass already. It's more that they should know that I have a gold pass. I scan my gold pass all the time while I'm in the park. They should have tons of information on me, and they should be able to market to me directly based on that information. Like, hey, you get the pub burger a lot. We actually have the big bacon burger. It's not on the meal plan, but here's $5 off if you want to try it. They should be able to do that. This is just a waste of capital in terms of, I think that they're going to have a lot of people that kill like the push notifications and stuff, because it seems like anytime I get a push from the park, it's nonsense. It's for a product I already own or something that I'm not interested in and stuff. So they should know you better than that. I feel like, I mean, the technology's certainly there.
What did you get when you renewed your season pass? Did you get any kind of an email from Six Flags, Kings Island?
I got an email from
confirmation email.
I got an email from Canada's Wonderland saying thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, I did. I got a receipt. Yeah, from Accessible.
A receipt, but was it like a nice graphic or anything, or something that
I don't
they,
know.
you felt really good about receiving?
Let me look, and I will pull it up if I have one. If it doesn't dox me, of course.
While you're doing that, we'll talk about Dollywood again here for a second. When
Sure.
I renewed mine, I got it's a real nice, graphic. It's got the picture of the season pass on it. It says thank you for renewing, and it says then it has more information as a pass holder. You have access, and it goes through and just outlines all the different events. It tells me what my pass is valid for, very
Okay.
clearly, telling me that I've got the parking, that I can use it here, I can use it there, I can get a discount at these places, but just really, really welcoming. I wasn't expecting that. It was like the next morning, when that came through. I got the confirmation receipt and all that said thank you and stuff, but this was, totally different. It's, something that, came to me, and I've, ever since I renewed my pass, I haven't got a second thing telling me to buy a season pass there. That they know I'm a pass holder, and now I'm on this list. Getting all the different, different offers and things, or updates, what's happening. They're very good at communicating about what's next, with the different events. So they've got the festival going on right now, so you get that information. It'll tell me in the summer about it tells me when different shows are starting. They'll send me an email, that these new shows have just now opened. Here's the show times if you're visiting us. So I mean, it's very, the communication is off the charts good there.
Yeah. I did not get an email from them. I got a receipt from them. So I didn't get a
Okay.
hey, well, thank you for buying our pass or anything, but
Okay.
it's cool.
But I do think when you talk about, sending to all these people that already have the passes, or you're sending the mailers out, those aren't cheap to do.
Oh
They
God,
do in
no.
bulk. I mean, they get a discount, but when you're sending, how many thousands of these they're sending out. But yeah, I mean, you go to the park and you see one side of the racer open, until noon, and the other side, closing in the evening. I think you just look at that and say, well, you could have used that money for all those mailers and stuff to people that already have passes, and put it into labor, and give guests a better, more, the full experience. If they're riding the ride at that time. So just little things like that. You just kind of like, why? You could be when you're talking about, they're always looking at all these, savings and things that they could do. They're closing parks and that. Why aren't you looking at this? You could save some money doing, just cutting out sending stuff to the people that already have the product.
All right. Next question. Jeff from Loveland, Ohio. He said, theme parks by Don? Ha! It's more like Dollywood by Don. Come on, man. I added the laugh in there, full disclosure.
But I'm
When
sure they
are
laughed.
when are
Go ahead.
where are the Kings Island stories? I know you can still write them. You cranked out hundreds of them back in your Kings Island days. You pub burger eating traitor. Don, you son of a gun.
Well,
I've heard you have a
yeah,
podcast about Kings Island.
there's certainly been a run of you know pieces that I've written about Dollywood over the last several days. I think there's maybe 4 in a row I did or something. But the stories are there, and the uh, the readers of my blog, they enjoy Dollywood content. They like learning about it. I've had people that tell me that because of the things I've written about Dollywood, that they visited for the first time. They're now pass holders there. So over the last year and a half that they've been inspired to visit the park, and to me that's rewarding to hear that they read what I wrote and inspired a visit. They went there, they loved it as much as I do, and they ended up buying a pass, and now it's part of their they're planning their visits again this summer and stuff. So uh, there's the interest levels there. So you're certainly going to write about the things that your audience, as a journalist, is going to be interested in. Uh, but in terms of Kings Island articles, I know that the piece that I published most recently about Dollywood, winning more accolades, all these awards from Newsweek, is that was entry number 252 since I launched the blog in the fall of 2023. And out of those 252, there are more than 50 pieces of content specifically about Kings Island. So that's more than 25% of my content. The majority of my content is Kings Island. So the Kings Island stories, they are there. Uh, the audience does enjoy those articles, but recently with Dollywood opening for the season and doing these different things, different events. It's a 40th anniversary. It just lends itself right now that that's going to be, where my focus is. The Kings Island stories will come back around. We're going to have RiverRacers opening soon. I'll certainly do something, with that. And I'll do a story on that they won't say anything to me. They won't say we appreciate that or anything like that. But internally, they'll know that, when they look at all the different, pieces of content, the stories that were out there about the opening of RiverRacers, mine's not going to take a back seat to what anyone else does, in that regard. So, I mean, I'm still going to do the Kings Island stories. There's going to be other things that are food and wine. That's going to be something I'll certainly write about that. Grand Carnival. So there's things coming up. It's just timing sometimes, what's out there. So it's not, it's just the way things, fell. Just that there was a lot of things happening at Dollywood in a very short period of time that just kind of lend itself to being more of that. There's some Holiday World content that I have ready to publish. I'll be going there soon, for multiple visits. We'll be at Hollywood Nights and, writing about stuff there. They've, got a great collection of wooden coasters. We'll write about that. Their food, we'll write about that. They got some new shows this year, so I'll write about that. Same thing, Kennywood. I want to get back out there. There's some cool things to write there. Some of the changes, that might be different. I'll write about, now with Herschend owning the park, and how that has kind of changed the guest experience. So there's a lot of different things. I've decided, that not, pretty much going into launching the blog, that I wasn't going to be try to be somebody that was, all the breaking news stuff. There's everybody's throwing stuff out there. Everybody wants to be first. I just wanted to maybe write some. If you're not going to be first, just do it better with something, or put your own, spin, your own, thoughts into it. So there's things like that. Or I'm more into the historical things. So I'll be writing more about that. Idora Park, long gone, not forgotten. I've got a piece on that I'm going to publish around Memorial Day. So it's, I try to work the Kings Island stories in, but a lot of it's timing, just what falls, when and where, and where I've been visiting.
Very cool. All right. Carter from Columbus, Ohio. He said, Kennywood has the turtle still in operation. I love this ride. Do you think this ride could make a comeback and we'd see a day where the Tumblebug is back at Kings Island?
I'd love to see it come back. I think we could see a day when that comes back. I don't know how much, if there'd be a lot of interest in a lot of parks. Sometimes they're all about the big new toys,
right,
that are out there, but you forget about the families. Kings Island being a park that has been, is now, will always be about families first, thrill seeker second. So I think something like that would be a perfect kind of ride to add to the Kings Island lineup, if they can find someone that could build that. I mean, if you're building these wooden, these wooden and steel roller coasters, some of these manufacturers and that are out there, I mean, they certainly have the technology and the ability to do it. It's just that they need somebody to want to buy a ride like that. Or maybe we need to see somebody at IAAPA, one of the manufacturers, bring it back, and try to sell it at the show, back in whenever it comes around in November again, and do something with it. But I think there'd be a market for it. And to me, because it goes way back, Coney Island days, I would love to see something like the Tumblebug back at Kings Island.
I agree. Don, tell me about the t-shirts and the stickers. Don't forget the stickers.
Well, we do have Tower Topic stickers. They're now available. They come in a variety of different sizes for you. We posted on our Facebook group, the information about the sizes with these t-shirts. I mean, these stickers. Let me scroll back up to that information from our previous episode that we had there. They are available in a 4.5 inch by 3 inch. They're $5 each. That includes the shipping. These are ideal for things like tumblers and water bottles. And then the 5 or 6.5 inch by 4 inch, they're $7 each. These are great for like car windows. So if you're looking for something that, tumblers, mugs, water bottles, any hard surface, we do now have those stickers available if you're interested in one of those. you would just want to drop us an email at donhelbig@themeparksbydon.com, or you can send us a message through our X, tower_topics. Make sure that you're following us there as the park gets closer to daily operation. We'll be doing a lot more, with our X, a lot of fun things, with our X, a lot of contests, with our X. So you certainly want to follow us and make sure that you're not missing out on some of those kind of things. And then the t-shirts, those are available for $22. It includes shipping. They come in a wicked green, same addresses. If you're interested, we'll send you the QR code either through the X or through my email. Again, Don Helbig at Theme Parks by Don. Just put in the subject line TT, Tower Topics t-shirts.
Perfect. All right. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.